all of human experience teaches us that diversity is a curse. It is not a blessing. It is not a strength. Those of us who can think know that it is highly unlikely that the races evolved over a period of tens and tens of thousands of years in different areas of the world under different climatic conditions and magically arrived at the same finish point. You can believe that if you're a theist, if you believe in God, which I happen to do, although I don't have any problem squaring my belief in God with my belief that people are not equal. But you can't believe that. You have to really be weird, like the people outside, the anti-fascists and the communists and the Marxists, to believe that evolution brought about all this equality over this long period of time without any kind of divine intervention. You have to have a really remarkable mind to believe that. And another thing I want to say finally, they want to talk about the horrible atrocities that have been created and perpetrated by people who believe, as I do, in human inequality. And the usual things, the Nazi death camps and stuff like this. Well, for every person who has died in the name of inequality, think of how many hundreds have died in the name of equality. If you can refute facts and refute scientific observations and refute philosophy by finding someone who committed a crime in the name of that philosophy, just look at the trail of blood left by these utopians who are fighting against common sense, against nature, against everything we know from the research in science and scientific laboratories. Their trail of blood stretches from Robespierre down to Pol Pot and the killing fields of Cambodia. As George Orwell so rightly observed, people like those outside, they think in slogans and they speak in bullets. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sam. So before I introduce our big guy for you, Richard, just a couple words about why we're doing this and why we are here, generally speaking. Just want to say this to those of you that may be students at this institution, maybe students at another institution, and trying to help you understand what is going on. Why are you hearing what you're hearing? Why are you hearing things like white people don't exist? White people have no rights. White people have no rights to represent their own interests. White people have no collective interests. This is fundamentally anti-white propaganda. I mean, look, whatever. Look, why are these people out here getting so violent? Just because white people want to stand up and say, we have a collective interest, we have a collective right to represent our interests, and we're going to do it. And why, of all peoples, are we uniquely to be denied this right? And we're not going to be denied it anymore. And those people out there that are protesting, who do they stand for? What do they stand for? What do they stand for? They stand for globalism. Multiculturalism and diversity are code words for anti-white. That is what that means. It is anti-white. They want to destroy our communities, destroy our countries. They want nothing but multicultural globalism, capitalism, international finance, and war. That is what you stand for. Those of you protesting us today, that is what you stand for. Hail victory!
Good evening, everyone. We won an amazing victory this afternoon. We won a victory, certainly for the alt-right, certainly for this event. We won a victory that's going to have echoes around the world. And I don't mean echoes. That you mean echoes.
Auburn University.
I would like to thank a very brave young man and his name is Cameron Paget.
Doesn't even go.
Cameron Paget is willing to stand for the ideals that are literally etched in this university. The ideals of the exchange of ideas, of free speech, the idea that Auburn is not going to be a safe space for leftist indoctrination, but it is going to truly be an academical village, and the real meaning of that word. It's going to be an unsafe space. And I don't, of course, mean unsafe in the way that the anti-fascist thugs mean unsafe. These are some very, very, very nasty people. These are people who have no sense of honor. There's something explicitly white about challenging someone to a fair fight. You can take that back. The fact that that person's laughing is probably a bit revealing. You can trace that back to the notion of fighting for right before God.
You're not my right!
We've got a screamer. He's embraced his racial identity. Everyone give him a round of applause! There's something deeply European about a fair fight. We are going to fight before God and determine who is right, who's righteous. There is something deeply sick about the way that our enemies engage in politics. Our enemies engage in politics by sucker punching people, not just me. They engage in politics in seeing someone who's doing something constructive, like putting out a fire during the inauguration day, during the melee that this black bloc, this so-called anti-fascist created. And they attacked a person who was attempting to maintain civil order. There's something profoundly sick about that. And there's something profoundly healthy about people like Cameron, about people who are speaking to you today. We bring our ideas to you. Our ideas have power. Our time has come. There is nothing that can stop an idea whose time has come, and that time is now! I would like to thank Judge Watkins, who made, in many ways, a very easy decision this afternoon. This is one of those days where you wake up and you don't quite know what's going to happen. I didn't know what today was going to be like. I never imagined that I would be in a courtroom taking the stand, that we'd achieve a legal victory, and that I'd actually be able to speak to you tonight. I didn't know that at all. I actually assumed that nothing like that would take place. But it did, because Judge Watkins actually cares about justice. Judge Watkins believes that these laws actually have meanings, that these laws are just little means that we can use to promote social progress, that there's a deeper meaning to these laws, and he believes that, and I would like to thank him for that. I would also like to thank Auburn University. I will admit that I was a little mad at Auburn just a few days ago. But since I have been here, I have been treated with great respect by the people who manage these facilities, by the campus police, by everyone at this university. And so I say this to you and all of your colleagues, thank you. Give them a round of applause, please. There are some cowardly bureaucrats who think that law is just a means, a little trick that they can use to suppress speech they don't like. But there are many people at this university who actually think that that law has meaning. I would say that demanding free speech does strike me as a bit hollow. Because free speech is one of those ideals that almost everyone, with maybe the exception of the communist, anarchist black bloc, everyone in America says, "What? I love free speech." It's just, who doesn't love free speech? When they say that, I cringe a little bit, to be honest. Because they think of free speech as something meaningless, something like, well, that's your favorite shampoo, and this is mine. And we'll just agree to disagree. They think of Old Spice. They think of free speech as effectively meaningless because words and ideas don't matter. We can just all agree to disagree. How cute.
Answer the point.
I apologize if my speech is a little difficult to follow. I would inform you that Auburn has a wonderful rudimentary program in English composition. But I don't believe opinions are meaningless. I don't believe opinions are about, oh, I like this shampoo and you like that one. I don't believe that at all. I think words have power. I think my ideals, the ideals of the alt-right, are dynamite. I understand these communist scum in a way that they might not appreciate. I understand why they want to shut us down. Because we aren't talking about our favorite shampoo. We aren't expressing an opinion on who should start for Auburn at quarterback next season. We are expressing an opinion that changes the world. We are using words that have power, that break the status quo, that lead to a new world. I understand why they protest us. I understand why they hate us. Because the alt-right is disrupting business as usual. I grew up in the 90s, and I think there was a legitimate sense that we wouldn't ever have to talk about identity at all. That we were all, everyone on, not just in the United States, but every single human being on the planet, was soon to become an individualist consumer. One little atom and a big global blob of undifferentiated, raceless, genderless mass. We could just come up with who we are on the fly. I'm a woman this week. I'm a tranny, I'm gay, I like this, I like that. I like to buy this, I like to buy that. This is what is called the end of history. That is the notion that there is no more struggle. There is no more conflict. There is no more identity. There are no more nations. There is no more meaning, and there is no more history. It's all been solved. Bill Clinton did it, or something like that. We'll all be little citizens of our nation states that are effectively abstract entities that have no connection to history, and we'll all just buy stuff on the internet. That is the end of history. That is something that seemed almost plausible at some point in my life. But there comes a time when a people bites back. There comes a time when something, this undifferentiated individualist mass goes so far into nihilism, goes so far into the destruction of meaning and identity, that we have to pull ourselves out of it by the scruff of our own collar. That we have to demand meaning, we have to demand identity, that we have to become something that we aren't. That we have to become something greater than ourselves. That we have to become part of a family, part of a story. And that's what the alt-right is. That's what the alt-right is. Alt-right is about identity. In some ways, the powers that be like identity. They like it when it has no teeth. They like it when identity is just this kind of elective that we choose. So this is who I am. These are my hobbies. This is what I like to buy. I like to dress up as this superhero when I attend this freakish nerd festival. I'm going to create a new gender, a fourth or fifth one this time. I apologize for insulting cosplay, sir. But all of those identities are ultimately toothless. They're ultimately meaningless. They're ultimately easily integrated into the global capitalist consumerist system. That identities that matter are not the identity of, I like this film over that film, this is my music choices, or I really like to consume on this great new shampoo on Amazon.com. No, that has no meaning. That is not at all a challenge to the system. Being a tranny or a transgender, that is absolutely not a challenge to corporate America whatsoever. Indeed, they will embrace that and integrate that into their human resources system. The great challenge to the system is when you say, I am German, I am English, I am white. That is what they do not want to hear. That is the true challenge. And that fundamentally is what the alt-right is about. There were some misconceptions about the alt-right for some time. We were edgy libertarians. We embrace people who ultimately have no ideals outside of, well, everyone should have free speech, everyone should say whatever they want. You can be whoever you want to be, and so on. That kind of edgy libertarianism, cultural libertarianism, the Milo libertarianism, that was all very cute. And to be honest, because our movement is so radical, because our movement is so dangerous, I liked the fact that it was mistaken for some kind of bullshit libertarian nonsense. Because that was a way to enter the mainstream. But the alt-right is not about that. The alt-right is about identity, period, end of statement. The alt-right is about being a white person, being a European in the 21st century. That is what the alt-right is about. That is why we are dangerous. That is why these bureaucrats, these corporations, the government are attacking us. That is the reason. And that is what this movement is about. And that is something we will never let go of.
You're about hatred, that's what you're about.
Huge slogan. I mean, seriously, try to get a little more creative. But every action does have a reaction.
No shit.
Right? When you want to ask, what's dangerous? What's a real challenge? I agree with you, sir. Good. He said there's nothing wrong with being white. Congratulations, everyone. We've won. Thank you, sir. It's going to be a Q&A. I'll definitely take a question from you.
That's what we're here for.
No one said we should. Keep saying that.
All right, sir. No, sir. There's going to be a Q&A. I will be. I'll actually take this really, really far. Even if whites were truly inferior in every way, I would still fight for my people. I would still say exactly everything I just said. But thank goodness that's not true. We're fucking awesome. There would be no history without us. Here we go. You know, one of the kind of amazing things about whites, I actually remember talking with Sam Dixon one time, and he said he wished he could be transracial. It's so much, in a way, easier being black. And what I mean by that is not that blacks don't face obstacles in their lives, of course.
Because we do.
I agree. It's so much easier being black. Because having a black identity, not just a black identity, that's American. Having an African identity is something that comes to us so naturally.
Okay, and what do you know about being black?
I don't understand. Why are you applauding?
Why? Because I'm upset. We're the street.
I don't understand what it means to be
Continue
black.
on. Yeah.
It's going to be a Q&A. It's so much easier being an African American in the sense that it's so much easier being an African American in the sense that identity comes to African Americans like dew comes in the morning. It's natural. You don't have to create it. We don't need an ideological, intellectual movement to create it. African Americans understand themselves that they're part of a people, they're part of a family. For goodness sakes, they call each other brother and sister. That is a beautiful thing. I absolutely respect that. Sam Dixon that sometimes I sort of wish that I could be transracial. That I could be like that mentally disturbed woman whose name I'm forgetting at the moment. Rachel Dolezal. Yes. But I also understand the reason why Rachel Dolezal was so strictly police. Because we can't be transracial. We can take on certain identities. I can take up a new hobby. But you can't take on a new family. You're born into it. You're born into that greater story. The story of your people. And this was the story that I'm born into. But we whites are unique, and I would say maybe uniquely frustrated. We like to believe that even when we're obviously losing, we're somehow winning. I'll explain what I mean. What? Yeah, that's all right. What I mean by that is this. I actually worked among conservatives for a little while, and I've certainly been around them for a long time. They have this special ability to lose themselves. They have this special ability to define their identity in terms of these abstract concepts like, well, we believe in the Constitution. We believe we're all American citizens. We're part of this abstract corporate body that keeps changing that I don't quite understand. Conservatives are like that. There's this sense that in this ongoing demographic struggle that we are experiencing, they believe that they're somehow winning because all of these people are becoming Americans. They've lost their race, they've lost their people, they've lost who they are in these bullshit abstract concepts like the freedom. We don't have a black problem. We don't have a Jewish problem or an Hispanic problem. We whites fundamentally have a white problem.
It's you!
At the end of the day, it is white people, like that curious man over there in the corner, who will oppose me, who will oppose alt-right ideas in the most vigorous fashion. The white race is undergoing an ongoing civil war. We hate ourselves. And yet we think that we're somehow transcending ourselves or overcoming ourselves by losing ourselves in citizenship, in freedom, in capitalism, in whatever horrifying global corporation we work for. We lose ourselves in our goddamn football teams. And I'm sorry. First rule of public speaking, don't insult your audience. I get it that we like to win. I get it that you like to see a wonderful athletic event. And I get it that you feel when that person from some other state who has nothing in common with you, who you would probably never allow into your house, let's be frank, crosses the touchdown line that, oh, we've all won. You haven't won anything. Athletics can be beautiful. They can be a beautiful expression of the human form, of human greatness, of pugilism, of competition. They can be a wonderful thing. They are something deeply Western, something that you can read about in Homer. But there is something truly sick, I have to say, about bringing in to a school that is like Auburn, that has a history of white identity, to bring in people who, let's be frank, are not the greatest exemplars of the African race. If we want to judge them by their character, if we want to judge them by their commitment to being student athletes, they are absolutely not great exemplars of the African race. For alumni of this institution to be funding these kinds of programs, to be bringing in people they have nothing in common with, that they would not allow into their homes, people who walk around campus like they own it, who engage in all sorts of activities, including sexual abuse of white women on campus. The notion that that is some great source of identity, well, call me a little bit skeptical.
Where the fuck are your facts, dude? Come on. Bring it up. Let's go. Show up,
Facts. My facts. Yeah. We lose ourselves in these false identities.
Are you stupid? Why this right too? Exactly.
Yeah. We lose ourselves in this false identity of something like football, this billion-dollar circus that we want to substitute for something real, that we want to substitute for our homes and our families, that we want to substitute for our senses of ourselves. Yes, that is absolutely sick. Yes, if I could wave a magic wand, I would absolutely ban football. Shuffleboard only. But I think this embrace of something as sick as the Southern football industry, the SEC and all this stuff, something as sick as that, we're covering up some hole in ourselves. We're rooting on these people that we have no connection to, that don't represent you. They don't represent you.
What represent me though? What?
You're rooting on this sick industry to substitute for that hole in yourself. And I feel it. I understand you. I understand why you want to substitute something for that identity that's been ripped away from you, for that identity that's been declared illegal, for that identity that's been declared immoral. That is, you are a white person. You are part of the story of Europe. You have a deep connection with Rome. You have a deep connection with Athens. You have a deep connection with Byzantium, with this whole world that's been ripped away from you, and instead they substituted some disgusting bullshit football game. We whites have this eternal black cloud that's hanging over us, that's preventing us from embracing our identity, from embracing greatness. That black cloud that hangs over us is something we have to always talk about. It's Jim Crow and slavery. It's the Holocaust. It's colonialism. It's misogyny. Thank you for that helpful addition. We have this black cloud, this eternal guilt trip that's preventing us from becoming who we are. Don't believe that that black cloud is some product of progress. Do you really think the world is getting better? Do you really believe that it's getting easier even for those simple things, those normal things? Like having a family? Like having a career, a job that you can be proud of? Undergraduates, I really hate to break it to you, but you're simply wrong. Our parents and our grandparents were not burdened by $100K in student loan debt and working at the goddamn Gap, okay? So no, it's not getting better. But we're burdened with this black cloud that hangs over us. And I, in a way, understand that. Certainly, the white race is sin. When I travel to an Indian reservation in Montana, and I have traveled to them, it does strike me as we have sin. We took something from those people, and we took it by violence. And I am willing to own that. I'm willing to own our sins, and I'm not going to be a stupid conservative who wants to explain them away. I'm willing to own it because we took this country. We took it because we wanted it, because we had a will to build something in our image. We did it. We won. I'm willing to own that. I'm willing to own slavery. I'm willing to own the terrible things that the white race has committed against other races. And to be honest, I'm willing to own those terrible things that whites have done to other whites. And to be honest, if we want to put a scale together, what we have done to our own people and these disgusting, stupid, internecine wars is tremendously awful. I'm willing to own it because I understand our power. You're given this black cloud that hangs over you. You're given this black cloud of slavery, Jim Crow. What is that black cloud but a guilt trip to weigh you down, to prevent you from achieving greatness, to prevent you from becoming something bigger than you are, to prevent you from embracing your family, to prevent us from becoming heroes, from re-entering history and changing the world and creating a new world in our image, a new world of beauty, a new world of power, a new world that can express what is in our soul. Not that black cloud that hangs over all of us, that black cloud of pain and sin and weakness. We have the power to embrace a new world that is the meaning of world history, that is our destiny of where we are traveling to a greater achievement of consciousness, a greater achievement of beauty, a greater achievement of power and intelligence and understanding of science. That black cloud is weighing us down. That black cloud is turning our world into a living hell. It is turning our world into a hell of unhappiness, of loneliness, turning our world into a world of death. But that world of death is going to be something very convenient for the powers that be. That world of individualism, of death, is going to be a wonderful place for the corporations, for the governments that just want some herd, cattle-like citizens that don't question anything, that don't have dreams. That world of death is going to be a wonderful place for those overseas. If you want to challenge them, if you want to create a world of true beauty, of true knowledge and science, then you're going to have to speak truth to power. That you're going to have to become something bigger than yourselves. That you're going to have to have that will to be a hero, to become who you are. And that's the true rebellion. Thank you, everyone.